Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Director Quade, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Facing colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, we please have a roll call.
Director Quade?
Here.
Director McMillan?
Here.
Director Pacala?
Yes.
Director Robert is absent. Director Avila?
Okay, we have a quorum. Up next, we have public comments. Do we have members of the public online?
We do.
Okay, this portion of the agenda may be utilized by any member of the public to address the board of directors on any matter within the jurisdiction of the board that does not appear on the agenda and on matters that are on the agenda but are not designated as action items. Depending on the subject matter, the board of directors is unable to respond at this time or until the specific topic is placed on the agenda at a future Calleguas board meeting. In accordance with the Ralph M. Brown Act, please limit remarks to 3 minutes. If you would like to comment, please raise your hand. Okay, we have no public comments. Do we have any items to be added to the agenda?
No items.
No items. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes.
All right. Okay, up next, we have a closed session pursuant to government code, conference with legal counsel on the existing litigation for the Los Posas Valley Water Rights Coalition versus Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency. All right, someone's mic is on. With that, we are coming back in from closed session. Closed session is closed and open session is open. We did not take any action. It was just the informational item. And up next, we have item 6, presentation of Patrick Augusta's promotion to distribution system crew leader and David Vaca's promotion to senior maintenance crew leader.
Right, good evening. I have the privilege of introducing several employees who have recently been promoted within our organization. All of these positions were filled through an internal recruitment process, reflecting the district's commitment to promoting growth, recognizing talent, and investing in the development of our team's workforce for the future. I'd like to take a few moments to introduce each employee, highlight their career, and recognize the accomplishments they have led them to the next steps in their professional growth. Our first employee is Patrick Augusta, who began his career here 23 years ago. Patrick started in operations and maintenance division, then system maintenance, later advancing to distribution crew. He now steps into the role as distribution crew leader. Patrick brings a high level of technical knowledge and is committed to teamwork in his leadership position. Patrick currently holds a California State Water Resources Control Board Water Distribution Operator Grade 3 certification, as well as Water Treatment Operator Grade 2 certification.
Thank you for honoring me today. Thank you to Omar and Matt for the opportunity to advance my career, and I look forward to working with some young gentlemen you'll meet later and teaching them the ropes for distribution. Thank you.
Good work, Patrick.
All right, our next employee is David Vaca. who has been with the district for 6 years, all within the system maintenance division. He now has been promoted to senior maintenance crew leader. And David currently holds the California State Water Resources Control Board Grade 3 and Water Treatment Control Board Grade 2. David brings a positive attitude with every task he approaches, challenges thoughtful and consistently develops practical and effective solution. It is unable to attend with us tonight because him and his wife have brought in a new baby boy to this world. So this morning, him and his wife welcome Jackson Vodka.
Wow.
And then next we have Fernando. We're gonna go to the next action item.
All right, please give him.
Sorry.
Congratulations to David. Up next, we have item B, presentation of Fernando Ferrer's and Giovanni Galindo's promotions to electromechanical technicians in distribution system division.
All right. So Fernando Ferrer, who has been a dedicated member of the district for 7 years within system maintenance. Fernando has been promoted to electromechanical technician within the distribution crew. He currently holds a California State Water Resource Control Board Operator Grade 3 and a Water Treatment Operator Grade 2. His consistent performance, strong technical skills, and willingness to take on new challenges made him a valuable asset, and we look forward to his continued growth in his new position. Fernando?
I'm thankful for the opportunity, eager to learn, eager to grow, and excited for the future holds.
Keep up the good work.
Lastly, we have Giovanni Galindo, who has been a dedicated member of the district for 5 years within system maintenance. Giovanni has recently been promoted to electromechanical technician within the distribution crew, and he currently holds a California State Water Resource Control Board Water Distribution Operator Grade 4 certification, as well as Water Treatment Operator Grade 2 certification. I would like to acknowledge that Giovanni recently passed his Distribution 5, which is a huge accomplishment within 5 years. And then Giovanni consistently approaches his duties with a positive attitude, strong willingness to learn, and readiness to take on a new challenge. We look forward to seeing him continue the growth and excel in his new role. Giovanni?
Just want to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Omar.
Congratulations on the grade 5.
And just grateful to be here, grateful to be in front of all y'all. And just excited for the opportunity and excited to learn my new role. Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, thank you, everyone. Good job, everyone. Congratulations on all your promotions and thank you. So any comments from the board?
But it's impressive to get a grade 5, right? You got grade 5?
Yeah, there's an oral exam, oral panel exam. It is a big thing.
It's a big one.
Wow.
Stay engaged.
All right. Up next, we have the consent calendar. Has the board had time to review the consent calendar, and would anyone like to pull any of the items out of the consent calendar, or any questions or comments?
I just have a comment, and a question on item B,
Okay.
7B, I should say.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, this is for a fiscal agent for TMDL. This is all pass-through costs. My comment is I'm interested in getting an update on Calleguas Creek POTW compliance with TMDLs. We have been doing this for almost 10, 15 years or more. I just want to see how they're all complying with this POTW compliance for TMDLs. I saw some South Las Posas Basin are really concerned for all of us in the Las Posas Basin. So my question is, who can provide that update?
I would guess probably Ashley Desai from Larry Walker Associates would be best positioned to do so, but we'll make some inquiries and agendize that for a future meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. All right, and with that, if we have no other questions or comments on the consent, I'll be looking for a motion.
I make a motion.
Go first.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Director Quaiding.
Aye.
Director McMillan.
Yes.
Director Pakala.
Yes.
Director Robert,
Yes.
Director Avila.
Aye, the motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Easy one. Okay, up next, we have action items. Item A is public hearing to consider adoption of 2025 urban water management plan. Welcome back, Jennifer.
Yes, so I think tonight we'll start with the public hearing to see if there's anyone who wants to make any comments. I will report to the board, no comments have been received to date, so no written comments have come in. So we can proceed and see if anyone's on the line that wants to comment.
At this time, I will open up the lines for public comments for the public hearing. Open the public hearing. If anyone has any comments, please raise your hand. Okay, we have none. Opening it up for board discussion.
Yeah, that was a great presentation you gave us last time. Very thorough. I do have a question on slide, I don't know what slide number this is. Supply reliability assessment, where you show watershed desalters. It shows 3,800 acre feet for the next 4 years. I guess my question is, how did we come up with this 3,800 acre feet?
Yeah.
That was something that was very, we know that something along those lines will be developed, but we had to make some sort of assumptions for the planning horizon in the urban water management plan, which goes out to 2050. So we felt that 3,800 acre feet was reasonable and hopefully not too ambitious as far as how much yield we can expect from a project such as that. But that is something that will be determined through this ongoing current process of the desalter study that we have a consultant working on.
Yeah. As you said, Calleguas has embarked on this desalter study, which is going to identify at least 3 to 5 projects, what I understand. With those projects, if they're approved, we'll have much more than what we are showing. That's all I'm saying.
To clarify, the endpoint isn't necessarily 3 to 5 projects that would be implemented. It could be more than one, but the 3 to 5 is the ones that will move from the screening analysis into a more detailed analysis.
Oh, okay.
I would be very surprised if the outcome of the study were more than 1 or 2 projects.
Yeah, I agree. My point is that it will be much more than what we are showing you.
It could very well be.
In the next report, and much better than what we are doing.
That would be great.
We will know a lot more the next time we do an report.
I mean, desalter, Mopak desalter, Camarillo desalter.
I want to be conservative.
I'm excited as you are.
Yeah, very excited.
Paula, just to clarify, the slides that you're referring to, are those the slides from last week's
Yes.
meeting? Okay, thank you.
All right, with that, I will close the public hearing and look for a motion for the action item A. Oh, did you still have questions, Director Quady?
I just kind of hope, what you hear back from DWR, I would love to know.
Oh, yes, we'll report back.
We'll include that in the monthly status report, but I would say based on previous experience that we should not expect to hear back quick.
Right.
That is right. But I will say in the last round, we didn't have to make any edits. So we're hoping that happens again.
The approval of it is what the success is.
Yes.
Confirmation of all your great work.
All right, with that, looking for a motion.
To approve.
We have a first and second. Roll call, please.
Director Quady,
Guys.
Director McMillan. Yes. Director Pacala,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Director Avila.
Yes, the motion carries. All right, up next, we have discussion regarding designation of Metropolitan Board Representative, Director McMillan.
Yes, I asked or I informed Raul that I would like to step down from MWD. And kind of burned out on the meetings and the travel, and my husband wants to spend more time with me. And
Incredible job.
I'd like to make the resignation valid as of after Tuesday. And the reason is we've got this inspection trip coming up on Friday. And my board secretary said that that would be a problem with the funding, so don't go sooner than that. And we can't get whoever we're going to choose as a replacement tonight in time on the board for the votes.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to leave that unattended, so for that reason, I'd like to make it like Wednesday as the official date. But in the meantime, Kara, that will give you time at least to get the paperwork in. I heard it's a bit of a process, and that's the reason we can't get the person in on Monday.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
With that, I'd like to see who would like to step up.
Well, I'm interested.
Great.
I'd like to make a comment for Jackie. So I want to thank you for your service. I completely understand you being burnt out.
Yeah.
On what would be the Delta Conveyance Design and Construction Authority, the Delta Conveyance Finance Authority, the Engineering and Operation and Technology Committee, the Executive Committee.
Yeah, those 16 committees, we'll be here all night, but they,
I don't think it'll ever be done again, but
I think
thank you for your service.
anyone on this board who replaces me, I know would do a fantastic job, so.
I also want to thank you. When I read the list you give us every board meeting, I say, how does she do all this?
Not anymore.
Yeah, and I'll just say it's been incredible watching you work and your interaction with Metropolitan. It's really something that part determination and part experience. And it's as a young board member, it's been great to watch and to learn and to observe. And so appreciate your service. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You're welcome. And whoever steps up, I would like to spend some time with them, walking them through some of the notes I've had over the years, what to look for in the budget, and also some of the secrets that nobody tells you when you come on board. Navigate the building, yeah, and stuff like. Yeah, there's some things that they don't get told and they don't find out till a year later, and I don't want to leave our representative in the lurch.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Very helpful. And we do have a little special treat to commemorate your retirement from the Met Board. And I see, we'll give.
It's in the refrigerator.
Okay. Oh,
So it's not jewelry.
Yeah, safe stuff is.
Is that where this? Did hear it was your favorite. We'll go a minute for a picture.
Which refrigerator was it? Is it in the building?
It's in the it's out in the utility closet.
Somebody can probably grab that door so that Megan can get back in easily with her hands likely full.
I did take a peek and a taste. It looks
Okay.
very good. Yeah. You'll notice there's a corner missing. Looks there's a corner missing. No, I'm kidding.
Just close it, that's it. Oh, thank you. Just. I'll share with the rest of you. Oh, sorry, a picture of that.
Oh, wow.
We want to open it and take a picture, Director McMillan?
Want me to take it all the way out? Sorry. They probably said.
Raul got a brush and just. painted it.
Kara arranged for the cake.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
She hand painted it.
Look at that.
Okay. Candles?
And you can't tell just from looking at it, but it is carrot cake.
Is it carrot cake?
I know, we know that.
Yes.
Cool.
Watch your hands.
Beautiful.
All right. We want to do a picture with the cake? All right. A picture with.
Oh.
No, don't do that.
Oh.
No, they're not, but they're not on.
Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right, bye, thank you.
Those levers right there next to the door, all three of them.
More like.
Sure, picture's fine.
Fix it in post.
Oh, so with that, I'd like to find out who'd like to replace me.
Yeah, great. Let's,
For two
who
potentials.
would like to volunteer?
Second, Reddy Pacala's.
I'm volunteering to be appointed if board.
So I'll make the motion to appoint Director Pacala effective after the Metropolitan Board meeting of June 8th or 9th?
9th.
9th, so effective on June 10th.
And I just want to say, I think Reddy will do a fantastic job. He's got a ton of experience in the field. And I have full confidence in you. So thank you for stepping up.
You're probably the only person who could comb through that 1,000-page board letter.
And have a,
I haven't read a lot from you before I get there.
I'll do some shortcuts for you.
Okay, all right.
roll call, please.
Did we have a first and a second?
Second.
Okay,
I thought I said.
Oh, okay, second was over there.
okay. Mercedes second. Who was first?
I made
You made the motion. Okay. All right. Roll call is Director Quady. Director McMillan.
Big I.
Director Pacala.
Yes.
Director Robert.
Resounding yes.
Director Avila.
Good luck. Yes.
Thank you all. Thank you for your
Motion
support.
carries. Thank you, everyone. Up next, we have reports. First up is the monthly status report. I do have a couple items from staff. Does the board have any items they'd like to ask questions on? Ready to take your numbers? Dr. Quady.
Just number 5,
5,
number 54.
54. That one's already taken by staff.
Okay.
All right.
There you go.
Any from this side?
I did have one. I gotta find it.
Okay, what about Dr. Pacala? Do you have one?
Yeah, I do have I just have comments on item 4. Item 8 question. Item 6.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Director McMillan?
Yeah, I gotta find it. I thought it was 81. Had some, let me find it.
Okay. How about Director Robbie? You got any?
None that I want to pull. I just want to bring some attention to, between partnerships and advocacy and public outreach and engagement. And it baffles me that this is a monthly report.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's, while Director McMillan, while you find your number, I'm gonna get kicked off on number 1. And then you could.
Yep, Ian's gonna handle number 1. First, we should take a moment to admire the amazing photo, which I know you've seen before, but it's still
We
pretty.
offer to share
yeah.
this with the fire department.
This one was actually taken by a volunteer from a retired fire department employee who is a photographer. And so he actually shared them with us. Yeah, it is fantastic.
And it actually is 81.
81.
There was a question earlier about desalters, and we are on the road to figuring out that question about whether the 3,800 we included in the urban water management plan is high or low. Hopefully low. The regional desalter group has been formed. We had our initial kickoff meeting 2 weeks ago, and really we got together to talk about how we're going to approach this study collectively. Like a lot of the stuff that we've been doing since the water resource implementation strategy got kicked off, we're really trying to have these be cooperative and collaborative projects, not Calleguas projects, but Calleguas service area, member agency, retailer, purveyor, and in this case, study group partners, because not all of our purveyors are participating as study partners, but a number of them are. So we all aligned on the goal of this study, which is to determine the most cost-effective and efficient way to make the best use of the brackish groundwater that we all know is there in between Simi Valley and essentially in Somas. We talked about the approach to the study to go from however many concepts we have today, which is quite a few, down to 10, to reduce those 10 from 3 to 5 to do advanced screening and modeling on, to hopefully, as Christine said earlier, arrive at a preferred desalter concept. If that preferred concept is to look at 2 or 3, the concept is multiples, that's what it is. And then we looked at the study boundary. This is for the upper reaches of the Calleguas Creek watershed. What exactly do we mean by that? We got to a place where everyone is like, okay, yeah, we know what that means. We looked at existing desalter concepts, some that have been studied significantly, some that have been kind of glanced at, and everything in between. We asked if there are new desalter concepts, and really what that was not, oh, here's a bunch of brackish water no one knew existed before, so much as can we also include recycled water, wastewater discharge? Can we make these projects not just brackish groundwater desalters, but potentially IPR projects as well? So that there was some discussion about that, and then did some challenges and benefits activities. Our next project, or our next, workshop, where we're going to be agreeing on the screening criteria and starting to do some work on that, is slated for July 15th. Is that right? 15th?
Our next workshop's 2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today is not July, that is June.
That is
Still June.
It's the same day as the
Long month.
meeting. We have one in July. No, I don't remember.
We're meeting in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So there will be another update at the next MSR. Any questions?
Scheduled to be completed in
2027.
Yeah.
Spring of 27.
spring of 27.
We're gonna do a few workshops quickly to get to the advanced screening. That advanced screening is gonna take a number of months.
How often can we expect updates?
Well, you'll get one next month. I can tell you that. As often as there's something to update you on.
There will always be an update in the monthly status report, whether, I think some months that update will be probably more noteworthy than others. So yes, we have workshop on the 17th of this month, one on the 15th of July, and then one in September.
Is that gonna be going out to board members?
No. Staff, these are staff workshops.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Some comments. Glad to see that GMA is paying for a portion of the study. I'm mainly interested in their comments as you go through the process. At the end of the day, for those desalters within the task process adjudication, we need their approval. So it's a good process to have them included, so we get their comments included in our reports, whichever reports we are preparing for the desalters.
Yeah, and we had 2 GMA representatives in the room and 1 online for the last. So having 3 GMA, including John Demers, who's the executive officer, was online. So have that level of engagement from the GMA is wonderful.
Good. Thank you.
Other questions on the board, comments? All right, thank you. Ian, up next, we have item 51.
Yeah, Amy Mueller, our regulatory compliance supervisor, is actually going to take the next 2 items.
Next 2, all right. I'd like to provide an update today on one of the regulatory monitoring requirements of Calleguas' Salinity Management Pipeline, our NPDES permit. Our permit requires us to conduct what's called sensitive species screening every 24 months. And the purpose of this study is exactly as the name suggests, to evaluate how sensitive various aquatic organisms are to our effluent and to determine what water causes any measurable, or whether the water causes any measurable adverse effects. And to ensure the results are reliable, we are required to do 3 consecutive months. This year we did February, March, and April. The permit also specifies that we have to use 3 different types of organisms. We have to use a vertebrate, and so we use a top smelt for that. And for the invertebrate, we use an urchin, and for the algal species, we use the giant kelp. Each month, samples are collected from our effluent monitoring station and transported to a certified laboratory. These organisms are then exposed to our effluent and compared to a control group. For the sea urchins, the laboratory measures fertilization, top smelt, they measure growth and 7-day survival, and giant kelp, they measure germination, and then the length of the kelp, how it grows over time. The goal of the screening is to identify the most sensitive species, the organism that responds most significantly to any potential water quality concerns. And that species would then become the focus of our monitoring if it were to change. The good news is that our results showed no species to be significantly more sensitive than the others. In other words, none of the organisms demonstrated any impact from our effluent. So because no single species stood out, the permit allows us to select the species that we'd like to move forward on our ongoing monitoring. And so based on the practicality, the price, and how reliable the data has been in the past, we've chosen to stay with the tops, the urchin. And that's it for that.
All right. We have questions?
Yeah, could you clarify for me, the effluent being used to monitor them? Is it straight discharge?
They do a dilution. Yeah, so we take a big carboy of our water in, and then they take dilutions and then add it to the different organisms.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
There's a specialty lab that does.
Yeah, it's it's aquatic bioassay in Ventura. Yeah.
And
No.
A little fancier than that.
Dilution all around at the same time. Series of dilution.
Right, that's correct. And yeah, like the top smelt, we actually have to go and get renewals, so it's a little problematic. So we have to be out there several times a week. So it's more staff time and stuff. So the urchin's a one-time test, so
They swim slower.
they're not moving too fast. So it's easier to measure. Yeah.
all right, any other questions on item 51? Up next, we have item 54.
Go 53 first.
53. Okay, welcome back, Amy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. The Division of Drinking Water requires water systems to monitor their sources for PFAS and other compounds. The regulations require the monitoring to be completed by 2027, the initial monitoring. I'm happy to report that Calleguas completed this work way ahead of a schedule. With the support of several divisions, the regulatory group coordinated and collected 4 quarters of PFAS sampling at all available wells beginning in June 2025. And then we also collected 4 quarters of samples from Lake Bard beginning in August 2025. And all PFAS constituents analyzed were reported as non-detects. It's good news. Because of these results, Calleguas will transition from the initial monitoring to regular monitoring. And moving forward, PFAS will be conducted annually at Lake Bard and then every 3 years at our wells. The photos here, the top one is Maya Rostrada, our laboratory coordinator. She is collecting a PFAS at one of our wells. And then below is the point in which we take from Lake Bard. It's at our treatment plant, but it's untreated, so we are able to take it there. One of the most important parts of this project occurred long before the samples were ever collected. PFAS compounds are commonly found in everyday products, and making contamination during sampling a significant concern. Because of this, a great deal of time and thoughtful planning went into developing our PFAS SOP, standard operating procedure. And PFAS sampling may be the only regulatory program where an all-natural approach is actually part of the sampling strategy. No cosmetics, lotions, or fueling vehicles on the same day are allowed. This was a successful collaborative effort involving multiple divisions, and the results provided confidence in the quality of our source waters. So
Questions on 50?
that report, yeah.
Director Quady.
So what's your view on how this is all going, sampling protocols and methodology? Is it settled science, or are we still evolving?
We're still evolving, and I think we don't have to be as conservative as we were, but this was our first time doing it, so we were very conservative in our sampling approach. But I've heard some of the other, even some of our perverse saying, oh, we're going to take our PFAS sampling, and we didn't even know about it for like UCMR. They've just gone out and filled up a bottle. But so I think it is evolving, but I think we're feeling confident in where we are in process.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
All right, up next, we have item 54.
And Matt Gomez is gonna take this one.
Back, Matt.
Thank you. All right. Staff successfully replaced a leaking 30-inch butterfly valve in Lake Bard water filtration plant gallery, which was identified during rehabilitation work on backwash pump number 2. The team took a proactive approach by addressing the issue immediately, ensuring the repair was completed efficiently and prevented potential operational impacts. The effort reflects strong planning and effective cross-departmental coordination between operations and maintenance. Work was completed without any service interruptions, as maintenance was strategically scheduled while the plant was offline. In addition, staff also replaced a gasket on the Victaulic, which is pictured in the lower left-hand with the forklift. We replaced that gasket, added a new Victaulic clamp, replaced the 30-inch butterfly, which is the top picture. And then we have Ronnie Flores, our paintings and coatings crew leader, to tighten up the bolts. The next phase of this would be to prep and paint all pipe as soon as backwash pump number 2 is brought back from our contractor to make it look pretty for the next tour.
I have a question off of your pictures.
Yes.
On your forklift, did you put the strap straight onto the forks?
Yes.
You have an attachment on there.
It's strapped straight onto the forks.
That's actually a little bit dangerous. There's an adapter that goes on the forks, goes over the forks, it straps to the back, to the carriage of the forklift, and it has a hook at the bottom that's made specifically for this.
No.
I have a little bit of experience with the forklift.
Noted.
Good to know.
Do we have any questions on this? All right, thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Last but not least,
Last is 83.
with Wes Richardson, our manager of IT.
At 81.
Got my picture on there?
Come back to those. Okay.
Got my picture on there, so it must be my turn. So the recurring theme, we went down to Amy, our JS analyst, went down to Esri headquarters down in Redlands for the day for the Southern California Water Forum that Esri held for water agencies in the area. The kind of the recurring theme was this evolution from a mapping tool to a critical enterprise system. So the forum showcased how water agencies are using GIS to improve operational efficiency, asset management, and decision-making. And presentations highlighted practical applications of GIS technology, including AMI, digital field workflows that replace paper-based processes, and the use of the utility network models to transform mapping systems into operational intelligence platforms. It was kind of an interesting year this year. Esri decided to focus on bringing in more of the general managers for water agencies to present how they've been utilizing GIS for all of their applications. So you kind of got to hear more of the stories from people who started in either finance or started in actual GIS and worked their way up to general management and what they've done to move forward utilizing GIS throughout the whole entire organization. And it really attests to what we're planning on doing with Esri and with our GIS system, as we're intending on our GIS system being a system of record, so that we're not having to go around and chase out for easement deeds or any property ownership records that we have. It'll all be accounted for and completely within the Esri our GIS system. And then one of the interesting parts that we did see that was a good discussion. So the drive down, a 2-hour drive down to Redlands, a 2-hour drive back is always a fun trip to go down. But we did have David Peterson with us. Dave Redman. Wrong, David, thank you. From Triumph Osan came down with us, so we were able to talk a little bit of how they use GIS at their system too, and trade some stories back and forth. What we found interesting was towards the late end of the presentations, Esri went into their next issues of the utility network. So we utilize spatial geographic systems, what we're using. They have started evolving the utility network, which is what Edison uses with their system. And the utility network is really geared around retailers. It's set up so that if you had a line break, that system is smart enough to know that you would need to isolate a line valve here and a line valve there. And then it can also tell you if you're going to close these line valves, how many people you're going to shut off of water. So it intelligently understands how your system flows water and can work on that. Doesn't really have a huge benefit for us because we're pretty much just a one-way pipe and we pretty much know exactly who we're going to be shutting off when we're shutting them off. No secrets on that one. But it was interesting to see that they're dumping a lot of money into that. And in the process of doing that, they're also taking away from some of the vendors. So as you guys know, we are working with CityWorks still with Trimble for our new TATS replacement and trying to get that rolled out. And their utility network, they're actually building in all of that as their own software, which is a definite strategic instance that was a little bit different to see. And as could be attested by some of the other people there, it was a lot like a lot of their vendors that are already designing software for them that like they've almost taken their ideas away from them. So, but that's their model right now for the utility network. Like I said, we're not moving there and they have no intention on getting rid of their geospatial network. So it's not like we're going to have to make that transition in the future. But it was definitely something to know.
Questions from the board? Comments? Thank you for the update. Thank you. All right, and with that, we're going back to the board questions, starting with item 4.
Oh, that's me. Well, I just wanted to thank Henry going all the way to Vienna, making this presentation on behalf of Calleguas. Calleguas is on world stage now. So my questions are, how long was this conference? How many people attended?
So the conference was 1 week. The conference is, I think, the largest in Europe, 20,000.
20,000
attendees. So, yeah, it was very informative. A lot of people working on issues involving planetary boundaries and tipping points, and obviously consequences for planning water systems.
How long was your presentation? How well was it received?
My presentation was relatively short. They have a format in which everyone presents a 10-minute presentation and then goes to an individual screen where you make your pitch and then you hang out for the next hour and a half and answer questions that people have about specific parts of the presentation. So it was interesting because you had to develop a presentation that could both be sequential, but also had hyperlinks so that you could key into key aspects of it and address specific questions. I think it was well received.
Well,
Thank you for attending on your own time, your own money, and representing Calleguas at the world stage. Thank you.
were you there for the whole week for the conference?
I was there for the whole week, and then through the graciousness of Calleguas, I had a vacation, not just a vacation. Oh, no district funds again. The week in Vienna.
What could you possibly do in Vienna?
It was as busy as the conference schedule, between going to art museums and then 3 operas and 3 nights, sandwiched between orchestral concerts. So it was a busy time in Vienna.
Vienna was a great place when we visited. We enjoyed when we were there.
Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work, Henry. Okay, up next, we have item 5.
Yeah, I'm just looking for an updated thing in the week of June 1st.
Sure. So I just checked and the full committee did hear it today. So I don't have an update as to what happened. I'm going to confirm that with Congresswoman Brownlee's office, but it is moving. So I'll have an update certainly next time, if not before.
You're welcome.
Next is item 6.
Six is Southern California Water Coalition, so
Oh, so sorry. Okay.
I'll handle it if I can, or call on Jennifer, who was also there, or Director Quady, who was also there. Whose question was?
Whose question was item 6? That was Director Quady. That yours? Okay, then
Mine.
I'm there. Item 8.
That's me. This is about the APCD permit, which prohibits testing emergency generator prior to 3:30 PM. Because it's a proximity to the school, our facilities are proximate to the school. My question is, does APCD allow use of portable generators during a real emergency? During normal working hours for the schools?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We're not allowed to have emergencies outside working hours.
If only that were true, actually. Unfortunately, emergencies always seem to occur outside.
Okay, and the last question is item 81, Director McMillan.
Let me get to it.
Excuse me, Mr. I had item 60, I don't know.
60.
Oh, maybe what happened is we thought it was 60.
60, okay.
Okay, we'll do that one next. We'll go with that one next.
60 is the leak. LM leak.
You ready for 81, Director McMillan?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead. Let's do that one.
it's already up right here. Quick question. I know I've seen the number of clicks on for the phasing, but this is the first time I've actually noted that we get 66,283 emails and then only 34% are clean.
Yeah.
Is that
That's been about our average, yeah.
Now, I know that 45% is discarded, but the other 21% that is spam, do you go through and comb to make sure that they're, or do you trust the filter?
I do not. Every individual user would get those delivered to their spam boxes. So
Okay.
we get the service that we're using sends out email to them with all the emails that are in the spam. Quarantine box is where that would go to. So those are those ones that be reviewed by each individual user though. I would say I get like probably 25 a day hits my quarantine box, which I think out of the 25, I might recover 2 out of those and the rest of them are just deletes. They're really just spam is what they are. A lot of advertising gets caught up into that too. So, a lot of times that just is an easy delete in that case too.
Thank you.
You don't personally go through all 66,283 emails?
No.
Okay.
Yes, I definitely do not have the time for that.
Last one is item 60.
Yeah, this is for Omar. Who reported Cal-Am turnout water leak into the storm drain?
The city of Thousand Oaks. So it originally came from Caltrans to Thousand Oaks. Thousand Oaks realized that that's part of their infrastructure. And they started reaching out to Cal-Am, or they reached out to the district first and said, can you help us?
I see. How long was the leak? What was the estimated water loss?
Well, the leak.
Okay, that's,
Yeah. The leak has been going on for quite some time.
that's what I was wondering. Okay. I recall this type of leak happened almost 8-9 years ago. That was in the Thousand Lakes area also. I recall the storm drain leak. That's why I was curious where this leak is.
Yeah, it was difficult to detect where it was coming from because there was actually a corrugated standpipe that was cored into the top of the storm drain. So trying to figure out where that water was coming from, we did. Our staff was able to go in and measure the location, and through process of elimination, we realized it wasn't ours.
Good thing is we fixed it. Somebody fixed it.
They're in the process.
That's identified.
It's ongoing.
Okay.
It's ongoing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But that's not something that could have been solved. Just look at who's more prepared.
No, because with Amy's help, we actually did a water quality profile. And we said, well, yeah, it is drinking water. But then we realized, well, Cal-Am, TO, everybody can have our drinking water profile as well. So the who's the location, no, because we did have infrastructure adjacent to that location, but we were able to determine that it definitely was not ours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, we are moving on to item 2, April 2026 financial statements. Dan Smith.
All right, so we've got the April 2026 financial statements. To start it off with the water sales, as you can see, we are getting pretty close to actually being right on budget. We're currently about 700 acre feet under budget for the month through the month of April. And May is looking pretty good right now. So we're going to be catching up some more. Overall, that leaves us with really good as far as the water revenues when we take net of costs. We're right where we but very close to where we thought we should be. So that is definitely a positive sign for us. A lot of that also has to do with, we used a lot of well water out at the well field during the last shutdown, which then lowered some of our costs. So that actually saved us money.
And to be clear, we extracted, stored, imported water that we would have purchased back when it was cheaper. So we did pay for it. It just paid for it well before we delivered it.
Yes, thank you. So looking at the admin expenses, you can see that we do have some savings there as we've been underspending on some of our expenses. We are over expensed on a couple of them. One I'm going to point out is you'll see if you look at the financial statements, the insurance line item is over budget by 170,000. It really had to do with something that came through JPIA. They changed their timing for their invoicing of the property insurance. So we ended up with two bills this year because they were used to be doing from July through June. And in the middle of the year, they switched it to a March. So the first bill was July through March. Then we picked another bill from April all the way through March of the following year. So it's showing over budget. We have the money to cover it in the risk management department provision. So we are still good, but that one is definitely showing as an over budget item.
Now, can I just say on the JPIA side, that I think that was because they actually made a change in modification of their fiscal year.
Yes, so they made a change which then affected their billing, which then rolled down into us. And we didn't budget for it directly, but it's reflecting in our expenses this year. I'm looking at our taxes and insurance. You can see that it's showing that we're about $5.5 million in the good. That's more revenue. Part of that is because the property taxes we budgeted in May. And so it's going to get a little tighter in May because we got it right at the end of April. So the property taxes come in sometimes in April, sometimes in May. It kind of depends on when the county sends it out to us. So it's kind of hard to hit that exact date and which month they're going to do. Guessed wrong this time. So it's showing that we're getting extra revenue, but the budget's going to get closer after that. Interest continues to be very strong. We're earning a lot of money on our investments through Chandler. So that is definitely helping our financial position. Going through with the operating income, because of all that savings, our operating income is looking really good. We have $33 million in operating income. We have budgeted to be at $25 million. Part of that is the budget issue again. That's $2 million. That's going to come closer. But overall, we're still very healthy for this year. Principal interest again is right at budget. So that's good for us, a little under. Looking at the pumping power. So this is one that we are definitely taking a look at. The pumping power continues to be going way over budget. We're at $2.6 million right now in spending, and we had budgeted only 1.8. Edison is continuing to, on a monthly basis, charge us, reverse the charges, and charge us again. And sometimes it's in our favor, sometimes it's not. A lot of them aren't in our favor. I am in the middle of doing an analysis to try to figure it all out, but it's very complicated. I mean, they went back two and a half years of invoices. So, and several of our pumps. So it's a lot of numbers to go through to make sure that they've actually reversed it right, that they're charging us right, and trying to figure out what exactly they're doing. And if you don't pay their bills, they will assess penalties and interest on it. So we've been paying them so that they're getting into the system, and we're going to be talking more with them as time goes on.
So how long back are we going with this analysis? For how many?
As far back as they go. So as far as all the ones that they're reassessing, we're going to go back and take a look at and just start with making sure that they're reversing out the right amounts, and then look at what they're charging and make sure that the kilowatt hours that they're charging us, and try to figure out what's the difference between those two.
There's no explanation for what they're doing.
The only explanation we've heard so far, which doesn't make a lot of sense, was that their time was off. So the daylight savings time stuck us into the wrong category for some of the year, but they seem to be going back and hitting every month and doing everything. And a lot of them are just going in and coming out, but there's a lot of going in and coming out and going in and coming out for the same months, it seems like. So I'm definitely, amazingly enough, putting it into an Excel spreadsheet so I can analyze the information.
Is this happening just for Calleguas, or purveyors are experiencing the same?
I have not reached out to the purveyors to find out if it's happening to them too. We can to see if anybody else is experiencing.
That's a systematic problem. We should go ahead up with Calleguas. Sorry. What's going on?
Yeah. So I kind of want to know what's going on first before I start trying to reach out to everybody to see if anybody else is experiencing it.
And it's that the category though, right? That they're putting in that.
Well, each meter has its own
Time of use.
Yeah, time of use.
There's one rate structure that if we actually select, that's how we should.
And I haven't really looked to see if the time of use thing has changed at all on each of them. I don't think it has. I think they all look the same. from what I'm looking at so far. But yes, I'm definitely going to be looking at that as well. So that was a big one that's also over budget that I was going to just address separately.
Is there and this seems like a case of they made a mistake and they're rectifying the mistake in billing. But I guess I don't know if there's like a statute of limitations on how far back you can rebill something. So maybe something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure there is a statute of limitations. I mean, you can argue with them if you'd want to, as long as they don't cut off your electricity at the wrong period of time.
Yeah.
So the other thing, pumping power, the revenue side, we are a little bit higher. We haven't gone back and recharged all the purveyors for this because I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to start charging them and trying to cause them to panic too at this point. So let me figure out what's going on first, and then we can kind of deal with that at a separate time. The other one.
Thanks for being on that, Dan.
Trying to. They haven't stopped. We got some more. It's not as big. I mean, just so you know, I mean, it's like an 8-page Edison bill of all these in and outs and trying to figure out which months and put it all into things. So first I got to get through those, and then I've got to go back to the old months and pull all those bills so I can put them in and then compare the two to make sure that they've actually reversed it correctly to begin with.
I hope they didn't change the times and they're back charging us based on the change.
Right. So some of that I'm going to have to get into the individual bills after I get some of this data in there.
If there's anybody who can figure it out, I trust.
I'm hoping so. Utility power, we haven't really changed. We're hitting budget. So even though it's off, I've always said that it goes back to the beginning of the year. We're doing good on the budget side on a monthly basis for this. To kind of just give you the snapshot on the dollars, you can see the pumping power revenue, 112, which is right at budget, kind of what we expected. I think we're budgeting about 110 as revenue for this time of year. So year to date, we're at 1.1. We budget 1.2. We've got 2 months left. Probably going to be a little over, bring in a little extra because we're at 91%. We're typically at 82% right now. Pumping power expense is the one that's really over budget. We're at 123, 124%. We're typically at 87%. That's the one I'm really looking at. And then utility power, the 16,000 is a little bit above budget. I think we budgeted about 12 for this month, and we hit it at 16. Overall, it's over budget. Kind of looking at the month of April, we look great for the month of April, mostly because we got all the property tax in and we didn't budget for it all. So we have additional $2 million. We planned for some of it. I budgeted half in 1 month, half in the other for some reason. Just like to try to confuse myself, let alone confuse people I have to explain it to. But overall, we have an additional $2.2 million coming into the operating fund in the month of April. So expenses were less than the revenues, which is always a good thing to see. And then with that property tax coming in, you can see we've actually hit the 200 million mark as far as cash and investments at the end of April. So we are very healthy with our cash reserves right now. And looking at the financial ratios, you're going to see that the current ratio and the quick ratio again declined. It was the same as I said last time, in that the payables are going up, mostly because our MET bills are increasing, which causes this to come down a little bit. Still very healthy, nothing to ever worry about. We're at 8 times what we need to have and 6 times the quick ratio. So that's definitely a very positive situation for us. One good thing, you're going to see our debt service coverage actually climbed above 3 for the month of April. That's the first time I think I've ever seen it quite that high. A lot of cash came in. It's going to start dropping down as we go through toward the end of the year. And then the interest earned is also at an 8 times what we need to have. So we're ready. We've got plenty of cash. We're looking very healthy. Continue to look good.
Great job, Dan.
That's all I have.
For now. So action item 4. Sorry, so report number 4. All right, up next, we have discussion regarding potential modifications to the board committee structure. Our general manager.
Yes, this is a follow-up to previous discussion, informational discussion we had with the board about potential reorganizing committees. This has been this is not what I'm trying to show, this one, sorry. This is what I had proposed to the board. The direction I received from the board at that time was to revisit the descriptions that we have on the board committees and provide that in the packet, which I did in track changes version. So this is just a follow-up for the board's request. If the board wishes to discuss this further, direct me to bring this back as an action item at the next board meeting or however else the board wishes to proceed.
Okay, questions, comments from the board, discussion?
Very true to what we talked about. Yeah.
I just don't see any aqua stuff, but I don't see how you could do it either. So,
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
aqua positions, but I don't see how you could do that.
Aqua positions?
Oh, we are in the committee.
Those are optional positions.
Would this,
Oh, in terms of who's on which aqua committees, that is on the list that's in there. I can't look at it right now because I've got the screen.
Yeah.
oh, I see. Yeah, joint powers.
Or you've got a chair of, so I'm not sure how you could do that, so.
Yeah,
I could drop it.
that one's difficult because, that one's, it's like LAFCO, it's
Well-
selected by the, not necessarily always selected by us. Like when I was selected for LAFCO, I was nominated and voted in outside of our agency completely.
Oh, you mean including all those positions in the write-up? Because I did separately distribute an updated listing of everyone's responsibilities, which we'll now have to update, due to the changes made tonight.
Let's see. Yeah.
So,
I'll take it off the board.
okay.
I didn't say.
So would the board like this to come back before them as an action item? Because it will require official board action to change the committees, and some committees would be going away and some would essentially be merging. So the board would have to reevaluate who's on what.
So yeah, bring it back.
Well, I like for permanent structures, less number of committees for us. What this will do is give us the opportunity for all of us to be in every committee, because we have 5 board members, 4 committees. So we get to be in each of the committees, either member or alternate, not member, chair or member. That to me is a positive thing. So your proposal is to bring it back for approval?
Yeah, because today's discussion was an information item, so the board can't take action.
I see.
But I could agendize it probably July 1st, realistically. I could bring this back for the board to formally take action.
Only the comment I have is the titles are too long. I made that comment before, but I guess.
I
you
am
didn't-
open to suggestion on how to shorten them.
You do acronyms.
I didn't think that was the best strategy for some reason.
Probably be another time when people will say, these are too complicated. Can't you break them out?
Okay, I'm good.
I'll leave that to future generations.
Right, future
Waiting.
You gotta give them something to do.
All right, sounds like everyone agrees. Let's bring it back at that board meeting.
Yeah, I plan to bring it back on the July 1st.
First, and with that, I'm calling for a 10-minute break. So. All right, thank you everyone for the break. If you enjoyed it. And now we're kicking off with a very exciting topic of reviewing of fiscal year 2026, 2027 proposed budget. Dan Smith.
Oh, this is my favorite time of year. So.
Very important for.
Okay. Good evening, directors. Today, we're going to start talking about the 26-27 annual budget, and I'm going to kind of go over the long-range finance plan as we do this. So we're going to talk about the operational side. I'm going to go over the water rates again. I'm going to do it. Normally, it's this thing, and we do the water rates at the same time. But water rates won't be until the first meeting in July, but I'm going to still do it because we've incorporated it into this budget. We'll go over the water revenue sales assumptions. We've got the revenues and other expenses, department budgets. We're going to bring all the departments up to kind of go over each of their budgets individually. So if you've got questions for them, you can ask them. I'm going to briefly touch on the capital improvement plan, and then I'll go over some of the long-range finance plan and what we're looking like at the next 5 years. Then the next steps.
Turns down.
So tier one water rates, of course, the tier one is our variable rate. It is 3 components. We've got the metropolitan treated water rate. Historically, that's been about 75% of our total tier one rate. In the next couple of years, it's actually going to be closer to 66%, mostly because we're in transition with that treated water fixed charge. All of a sudden, Met's variable rate dropped and ours increased. So over time, as we start moving that into the fixed rate, when we finish the cost of service study, it'll get back to that 75%. It's going to get there historically. It doesn't really change. And then we've got the Calleguas operating surcharge as well as the capital construction surcharge. That's part of the variable rate. As far as the fixed charges, of course, we've got the capacity charge, which has 2 components, the metropolitan component and the Calleguas component. And I'm going to go into a little bit of details on both of those, as well as the readiness to serve charge, which is solely a metropolitan charge that we pass along to our purveyors. So again, looking at the metropolitan water rates, the metropolitan adopted both their 27 and 28 rates on April 13th, 2026. The tier one rate for 2027 is going to be at 1,420 acre feet or per acre foot, which is a 7.1% decrease. That decrease is due primarily solely to the fact that they're moving some of their variable rates into a new fixed charge, actually 3 new fixed charges, all related to the treated water, which is something that Calleguas was championing, trying to get a pass through metropolitan, because it's something that will hopefully pass on additional costs to other member agencies at metropolitan and absorb some of the costs due to the fact that they peak off of metropolitan's treated water system when they have a chance. The other one, the 3 fixed charges total $10.4 million, and that's just a new expense to us that we have to pay. It's a fixed charge. The capacity charge for metropolitan increased by 24.1%, and the RTS increased by 23.9%. So these are some really large increases on both those two. It does have an effect on the overall rate, but we will kind of talk about that as we go along. 2028 rate adjustments, the overall rate increase is 6.1%. Their tier one is going up by a 6.6% increase to us, to $1,514 per acre foot. The capacity charge is not as big of an increase. It's a 12% increase. And the RTS is also a 19%. So they're continuing with these large increases, especially on their fixed charges, as we're seeing over time. The treated water fixed charge, it's technically not adopted yet. I was a little bit surprised. I didn't realize that until I asked them for their 10-year projections. And with that on there, it actually stated that the treated waters charges had not been fully adopted. I believe that's partly because, this is the first year with their treated water charges, fixed charges, and they're going to want to see how it develops over time. How is it going to play out next year before they actually set those final rates? Yes.
I know you've done a lot of analysis on this, so I hate to ask if you've done analysis on something that affects us quite as much, but do you know how these rate changes affect, we only get treated water, but how would it affect an agency that received treated water? Did that balance kind of shift, or does it kind of affect everyone equally?
It is going to shift some, because those people will have a treated water charge. If they take treated water at any point, they will be paying a portion of this, of these charges. So they do get an allocation on this.
I guess my question boils down to, would it have been advantageous to be able to have access to untreated water? Other than for all the other reasons in this case, I guess, did the untreated water charge go up as much as the treated water charges?
This year, I mean, I have analyzed that and probably see it more when we do the water rates again. I can bring it back up because I don't know right off the top of my head. But when you combine the treated water variable rate and the new fixed charges for us, it's not that big of an increase. And I think the untreated water had a bigger increase on it than the treated water did.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
For this year. Now, that's a little bit different for last year when they had those adoptions. There were some very large increases on the treated water surcharge, which is why we ended up with these new treated water fixed charges, because they were allocating additional charges into the variable rate on the treated water. And so we were looking to get it so that it was better allocation to everybody who is using at some point the treated water system for Metropolitan.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so the last little line on there. So when I'm doing my estimate based on what I'm seeing, I see us having a decrease in that treated water charge next year, but we're gonna have to wait and see until they actually adopt the rates. But based on kind of what I'm seeing, I think it's going to be something that could be a decrease to it for us. So here's the overall rate increases that we're looking at for 2027. We've got the $1,420 for the Met Tier 1 rate. The O&M surcharge for us is going up 71.4%. And I just keep putting this on the slide so we can kind of keep talking about it. The reason for that increase is due to the fact that we are picking up the money that we need to cover those additional fixed charges coming from Metropolitan. Metropolitan reduced their Tier 1 rate. We're not passing those fixed charges onto the purveyors yet as a fixed charge. So we've added it to our variable rate charge. And as we go through, if we pass the cost of service study, our variable rate will decrease as we start shifting it into a fixed charge. But overall, we're looking at a Tier 1 rate increase when we have all of our charges and Metropolitan's of 2.9% increase in the water rate for 2027.
So Dan, when we go back to the slide, please. When you talk about O&M surcharge going from 227, 389, O&M surcharge definition is to all of our Calleguas budget, not just operations maintenance, correct? It includes administration, it includes entire.
It's the operation of the district is the way I look.
When you say O&M, to in my mind, operation maintenance, Omar, that's to me.
But it's also the operations of the district. I should say operations, not O&M.
That's what I was wondering. Okay. Thank you.
I will change that. All right, so I'm going to start talking about the capacity charge first. I'm going to talk about the expense side, which is the Metropolitan charge. So for Metropolitan, this recovers the cost of the assets that are providing the peak capacity for them within their distribution system, solely on them. They base it on the peak day between May and September for the last 3 years. So we look at find the peak day in the last 3 years, and that's what we use. Looking at what we've been having last year, we actually set our peak at 167.1. This year it's going up. We had another peak again in 2026, so we're up to 171.8. So that's also causing a bit of an increase. So not only is the rate increasing by that 20-some%, we're also seeing an increase in the CFS that we're getting charged for. So we do monitor it. I say the district tries its best to monitor what our CFS is, what we're taking from Metropolitan. But there are times when we can't help what we need to take. And the fire is going to be a good example for that. I know Omar said there were times where we were taking 220 CFS. You know, that could have an effect on this. We'll have to wait and see if that's our peak day or not. But, you know, some of that stuff, if we have a fire in the summer, that's going to affect our CFS that we're taking from Metropolitan. So we try our best to maintain it, but we can't always, you know, have the effect that we would like to. Overall, in 2020's calendar year 27, there's a $3 million is what we're going to be paying to Metropolitan for that capacity charge. So when we go to our capacity charge, we're going to be collecting $8.8 million in revenue The first thing I'm going to point out is the very top thing is that part of this is collecting the metropolitan capacity charge out of this. So 8.8 of it, $1 million, $3 million is just collecting metropolitan. And then from there, we also have our own capacity charge of $5.8 million. We redefined this in 2017 to recover the cost of the assets that are providing water in case of an emergency. So some of these include the Lake Bard filtration plant. We got the well field, the emergency generators. We consider the interconnections an emergency supply because that's really when we're going to be needing a way to get water there. And so all of these assets go into this pot and we then divide it by the useful life of the asset.
When you talk about interconnections included in this cost, what portion of it is the depreciation that included?
Yes, basically depreciation. Okay. Yeah. It's over the life, we divide it by the life of the asset. And that's what the amount is that we go to collect from the purveyors. It's similar to the capital construction charge. We just charge it to the purveyors rather than charging it to the people who are building. Because it's after the fact. We're billing on stuff that we've already built.
And that's when you say depreciation of the asset, total value divided over the years, or also the cost to maintain?
Nope, we're just recovering the cost to build those assets. The maintenance of it's included in the variable rate.
When you say cost to build, you are collecting over 30-year life of the project, right?
Yes, over 30 years. 30 to 50 years.
I was asking if it also included the maintenance. That's on the variable side. So
that's on the variable side.
A picture of the total cost of that.
So we collect it all just in two different pieces. Yeah. And we base ours a little different than Metropolitan because we do the peak week, but it is still through the May through September because that's when our highest demands are. And we use it a year back, so we're basing it off 2025 data. The readiness to serve charge is a pretty easy one. Met charges us a readiness to serve charge. We take that dollar amount and put it out to the purveyors. Right now it is on the 10-year rolling average. That's kind of how Met determines how much we have to pay. We do the same thing with our purveyors, although the purveyors have requested to take it down to the 5-year. And it's part of the cost of service study. We're looking at reducing it over time to get down to the 5 years, like we're going to do with these other new charges.
Is our plan to implement 5-year rollover next year, next budget?
For our fixed.
It's the amount we're going to collect is still the same. It's just how the allocation is going to go to the purveyors. They've requested that we use a 5-year average of their sales. And I'm not going to do that all at once. I'm going to slowly roll it in down to the 5 years so that there's no big shifts in the allocations. It'll do it over time.
And that's for the RTS?
Based on how much.
That's the RTS.
Would it be ideal to match what Metropolitan?
Sorry, what was that?
Would it be ideal to match what Metropolitan does?
Metropolitan does the 10-year.
Yeah. Is there any impact on us?
It's not going to, for us, there's no impact because they're going to charge us $8.8 million.
Yeah.
We're going to collect $8.8 million. It's really just which purveyor is going to be paying it is going to be based on their 5 years. Yeah, their usage over 5 versus 10 years.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I got a little confused there. I was thinking Metropolitan was doing rolling averages of our purveyors. That made no sense. Sorry.
I will say that our percentage has been increasing again. We're getting close to 7% of Metropolitan sales right now.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a 6.7 and we're getting closer to 7% now. So it's been inching its way up because we're staying pretty steady on ours.
An advantage of the rolling 5-year average is that if the players do have different sources of supply or they change their conservation and all that, they don't have to wait, 10 years from the event to.
Yes, and a lot of has changed with these desalters coming on for one. So it's saved a lot of water, a lot of conservation's been going on, and it's really not going to make that much of a difference when you go from the 10 to the 5. And because I've looked at it and it makes them happy. So
yeah, well, and in 5 years it might,
Yeah, eventually. We'll give them something to work on.
Seems like it should go with the urban water management plan.
All right, so I'm going to start going through the proposed budget. A lot of this is going to follow the budget that's in the board packet. So if you wanted to follow along, I'm going to start talking the big picture stuff, which is that big sideways looking. And then we're going to get into the budgets where each of the department managers will come up, talk a little bit about their budgets. If you have got questions for them, they'll be happy to answer them. And then I'll get into the long range finance plan. So looking at the proposed water sales, this is the history. You can see we were doing 94,000 acre feet back in 2021, and we're still looking at 73,500 for next year. And I know this is looking like a decrease because it is a decrease from this year, even though we look like we're going to hit 75,000 this year. I'm still looking to decrease it next year for a couple of reasons. One is that there is a threat of El Nino out there, and this could go either way. It's either going to be really rainy and we're going to be having less sales, or it's not going to rain at all, in which case we're going to be just fine. The other thing to consider, even though we're hitting the 75,000 acre feet this year, there's a leak out there that's giving us an extra 1,000 acre feet of water sales this year. So with that, really we're at 74, which means that 73,500 is like right in that spot still. So the leak made us look good. Just to kind of look at what we've done historically, you can see there's the 73,500, which is a 2% decrease from the last year's. 2022, we were right on. Can't get closer than that.
Not 180.
I will try to do better this year.
Calibrate your crystal ball a little better then.
Yeah. I say, you look at some of these other years, like 23, the drought was tough. We did not know what was going to be going on. We lowered it. We sort of knew that was going to be high by the time we adopted the budget, but you can't be changing all of your assumptions right at the last minute. Even then, we weren't off by that much. 24, the drought was over, expected it to rebound, but it rained. And this is what I'm talking about. Some of these rainy seasons can have a big effect on what's going to happen with the water sales. They were coming out of conservation and it rains, you don't have to turn the sprinklers back on. So it was less. And then we start getting into the last year, the previous year, we had a dry year. So we had a lot more in sales than we expected. And this year we rained early, but then it just really dried up. So we started off bad, but we're catching back up now in these later months of the fiscal year. So I do think that the 73,500 is a good number for us to be budgeting on. It's not overly conservative, but there are some things out there has some concern that we should be basing it on the 73,500 to be conservative, a little on the conservative side. So looking at the overall variable revenue, we're bringing in $153 million in variable water sales. That represents a $5.8 million increase for the year. It's not as much as we normally see, but that has to do with we're only doing a 2.9% increase in the tier 1 rate. So as a small increase in the tier 1 rate means we don't have as much revenue coming in on the variable side. So that sort of makes sense. You will see there's some large increases when we're talking about the readiness to serve charge, $2.3 million. That's the single largest increase in that rate that I've ever seen since my 15 years here. That makes the 5th consecutive year over 700,000. So, they're continuing with these large increases on that readiness to serve as far as them collecting fixed revenues. There's also a $400,000 increase in the capacity charge revenue. 270,000 of it's metropolitan, 130,000 of it's us. So we're not having as big of an increase. That big increase in the metropolitan rate is causing a larger increase for us. To kind of talk about some of the other revenues, I want to point out that the property tax revenue continues to increase nicely for us. We're budgeting over 13 million, 13.3, I think, this year. We're almost there right now.
Is the property tax revenue increases based on inflation indexes, or is it based on growth?
It's really based on growth and kind of where it's been going. A lot of times too, like right now, we're going to be at about little over $13 million for this year. Housing sales have been sluggish, and if housing sales are sluggish, then people aren't buying new houses and the assessed valuations aren't increasing. So the increase in the property tax isn't going up as much. I don't expect it to be zero because people are still buying houses. So some of that's still happening, but the growth has slowed down at this point. So it's really just based on kind of what I'm seeing out in the market, I guess I should say. Great. And the interest income, the interest revenues, you can see we had big years. The purple one for this year is coming in much higher than that, as I keep saying. So we're expecting an increase in the revenue for the next year as well. So I can see that considering, our investments, we've invested out a little further. So we hold on to those investments through maturity. So I anticipate us continuing with that, but depending on where interest rates go, depends on what the interest revenue is going to be. So I don't want to get too happy and start saying, hey, we're going to hit, $6 million when all of a sudden everything turns bad. And we should be also using some of that money eventually, as you'll see in the capital projects. We're having some major capital projects coming. So we're going to have to be using some of that cash or borrowing. Looking at the pumping power, you can see I did increase it. I didn't increase it to what we're actually seeing. This is the revenue side. So we are increasing it. We're seeing increases in the revenue. So I bumped that revenue up to reflect what we're seeing as the increases from Edison come in and we're passing on the purveyors. We're getting additional revenue. Power generation is been at 600,000. I'm still saying it's going to be there. There's a chance we get a little bit higher, but usually when the high year comes, it's like 650, 660, 660,000.
It's pretty consistent for the last.
Very consistent with what we're doing, yes.
So when we sell the power back to Edison, that does not change, that rate does not change?
It does change at times. It's set by contract, but for the most part, it's pretty standard. It's really how much electricity we can generate. That's really the main factor here. And depending on flows, the rate's been pretty good because our flows have decreased because we're selling less water, which means the less water is flowing into us.
In spite of the fact that we've actually done a lot of maintenance on all the pumping.
Yes.
So they're ready.
Yep. So, and then the SMP fees again are seeing some slight increase in the rate. So it's going to be a small increase in the revenues. Looking at the expenses side, so the overall proposed increase in all of our operating expenses is $7 million. $4.3 million can be due to the increase in the water costs. And by water costs, I do mean like all of these, the water sales, the capacity charge, the RTS, and the pumping charges. So all of those are going to be increasing overall by $4.3 million. Some of the other things that are happening is that we're seeing increases to salaries of $900,000. And I kind of broke it down for you a little bit. $500,000 is typically related to the COLA that we give, not just that's a half-year COLA, because we gave a COLA last time. That's increasing salaries on an annual basis. We've got step increases. We're promoting a bunch of people internally lately, which puts them in new positions, which gives them opportunities to get steps as they move along in their employment. And then also from last year, we had some reclasses of positions, and then we also added a GIS analyst, and we didn't budget for them for the full year last year. And this year we are, so that actually added to the cost of the salaries as well. The proposed for the benefits is also increased by $360,000. A lot of that has to do with the medical costs. The medical costs are going up much higher than a lot of other areas. So that's causing this, and pension premiums continue to go up as well. Hopefully, as PERS starts gaining some interest like we are, then this should level out a little bit. But for the last year or two, it's still been increasing. Just to show you on a graph kind of what salaries are going, I said $900,000, but you can see that it's been pretty consistent with our increases over the last 5 years. The same thing with the benefits. It's not crazy increases. It's pretty standard as far as percentages go. It's pretty just a nice even going up like it should be, because costs going up. COLAs.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, does this kind of track with the COLA trend?
It does. I mean, we haven't added too many positions. We've added one here and there, and that'll account for some of the spikes like that first year. We added a bunch of positions at that time. And that's one of the reasons that jumped so much. That was when Tony was here and we were adding a lot of positions.
So Does it mean every year we added 1 or 2 positions? You said.
Well, that's just when you're looking at that very first column, the blue to the red, there's a bigger gap than you see in the other. And that's because we had added some additional positions at that time. So that caused that big gap from one year to the next.
How many employees do we have now?
I thought 75.
No,
Something.
84.
Including our interns and not
Okay.
including the board.
It was 82 sorry, 72 when I first started on the board.
Oh,
So we've gone up,
70 to 84.
we've gone up 12.
In 6 years? That includes 3 interns.
Yeah, there's 3 interns. Those are part-time.
Yeah, they're not driving the costs.
They were all very necessary to the shift in strategy and the shift in culture as an organization that we've been doing, so understandable.
All right, and I always find this one interesting to kind of show you where our operating is. That's that red area, our operating expenses are when compared to like what the cost of the water and the debt service is. So right now, the cost of the water is at 73.6% of our budget. And we're talking about the operating being 18.2. So the majority of our costs are still with the cost of the water. That includes both the variable and the fixed costs that we have to pay to Metropolitan. So that's the biggest chunk. Our debt service is going down. We're down to 8%. May change here soon as we're having a lot of capital projects coming up. We may have to borrow some more money, but we're in a good position to do so. At this point, you're going to see that we're going to bring up all of the different managers, starting with the general manager, and we're going to go through each of their departments. They're going to highlight some areas. If you guys have questions, be sure to please ask.
Presenting for the board directors?
Me. Would you like to present that section?
I'll pass that on to our treasurer.
All right. So on the administration side, there's not a lot of major changes. We are budgeting for a board retreat this fall to start work on the strategic plan update. The addition that's going in behind here, we budgeted for some new shelving units and a new agenda posting cabinet. I know that doesn't sound super exciting, but legally, for the purposes of posting for the Brown Act, that wooden cabinet that as you come in the driveway is what matters legally. So it's seen better days, so. Replace that. There's a slight increase in legal costs that's associated with all the wonderful work that Walt does for us, as well as legal support for the adjudication lawsuits that are ongoing and some other support needs that are helpful to us. Sponsorships, I know this is an area of great interest to the board. We previously took the proposed sponsorships to the sponsorship committee. Some of the shifts that we'll be making in the next fiscal year, we're proposing to make, is rather than sponsoring students for the AWA symposium through AWA, we'll do it directly. We started to do that a little bit this year. It costs us a little bit more, but we then get to pick the students ourselves. It gives us an opportunity to offer something to the students in the spring career fairs when we may or may not have any open positions, and it's not typically when we're recruiting interns.
Why does it cost more if you do?
Because AWA discounts it a little bit if you sponsor through them. But then the students, we don't get to pick the students, and the students may or may not even be sitting at our table and interacting with us.
With what you just mentioned, to kind of go off topic a little bit, I don't think it should only be, college students through career fairs. I think we should be doing some, motivating some high school students that are graduating and going to water, so maybe.
Yeah, we can look at that. I'm sure Jen Vasquez, who leads our workforce development efforts, be happy to look at a way to make that happen. One of the challenges we've had over the last couple of years is we've wanted to sponsor Chamber of Commerce events, but they tend to have very high minimum sponsorship amounts. Some of the other changes, we did sponsor Southern California Water Coalition when they did the event at the Reagan Library. Should they return to our backyard, I think we should consider that again, but I don't feel compelled to sponsor events that are in Temecula. We did not renew our PPIC sponsorship, while the Public Policy Institute of California does a lot of really interesting and useful work. We didn't find that the sponsorship really got us any value, so we've dropped that one. And at the request of the committee, we included $2,500 in a discretionary sponsorship opportunities that may arise. That does happen over the year where things come up that we didn't know to plan for, and that gives us a little bit of flexibility. So this is how that looks. The changes, I've got some notes there in italics and that flag some of the additional changes. Another one is this Latinas in Water sponsorship. That's an organization that Principal Water Resource Specialist Jen Vasquez has been instrumental in founding. We're planning to do an event this year. We'd like to support that effort.
What about Wells? Is that a sponsorship or membership?
Well, so we talked about doing that under discretionary sponsorship. After we had that meeting, they reached out to me and wanted to schedule a meeting. Of course, they wanted to schedule it during Aqua, which seems like here when I'm there. Their minimum sponsorship level is 7,500.
Okay.
So I think we probably can get greater value supporting some other organizations with that discretionary funding. They're a great organization. They do some great work, but 7,500 is more than we sponsor any other organization for a single event.
Yeah.
You know, looking at this, the AWA stuff adds up to be quite a good amount. I've noticed over the past couple of years that the chambers have been doing a lot for us and they're very involved. They help us with lobbying and stuff like that. Would we be able to reduce some of those amounts up at AWA and move more into the chamber sponsorships?
We certainly can if that's what the board wants to do. For the purpose of approving the budget, which we'll be doing at the next meeting, the sponsorship budget is the total there. And we can discuss to what extent we may wish to divvy those monies up in different ways.
The sponsorship committee.
Sponsorship committee, which will soon be absorbed into the finance committee.
Yeah.
All right, then another, big cost on the administration side, of course, is this study to optimize brackish groundwater desalting that we've talked about quite a bit already today. We've budgeted some of that money in the next fiscal year. Some of it will spill into the following fiscal year. We are getting financial contributions from study partners. Most significant is over $100,000 or is $100,000 from the GMA. Some of the other purveyors have expressed a willingness to contribute as well. So we're working on that. For the project operations plan, that's Ian's part.
Yeah, so the project operations plan got started earlier this year. It is about a 2.5 year effort, to comply with the judgment, to do some modeling and analysis on how we can operate the ASR project in a way that would avoid material injury of surrounding pumpers. And if that ends up being unavoidable, how we mitigate that going forward. Similar to, excuse me, the judgment requires that we split those costs 80-20 with the GMA, with Calleguas picking up 80%. So we've got a cost share agreement to cover all of those with the GMA.
Moving on to the board of directors costs, there's a slight increase over last year just due to the increased travel and registration costs for these events. For each director, we budget for both the Aqua conferences and then either Aqua DC or another conference. Of course, your stipends and costs for these board meetings, as well as Aqua board for Director Avila as chair of local government committee, as well as Director Quady for his role as Vice Chair of Region 8 and his role as our Aqua JPI rep. So not a lot of change there, just kind of incremental increases to reflect how costs are rising over.
And increased involvement.
Yes. And I think after this, we're moving on to another department. Oh, we went backwards. There we go. On to external affairs.
Okay, good evening, directors. So external affairs, the primary changes from last fiscal year to this one is partly because I was appointed to the Aqua State Legislative Committee. So that involves 8 trips to Sacramento a year. I also budgeted for the California Association of Public Information Officers annual conference. The senior communications specialist has gone to that twice, and I budgeted for both myself and her to go to that, as well as an additional advocacy trip to Washington, D.C. We've talked about that. I'm doing something apart from Aqua DC, so I wanted to budget for that.
And then lastly, we are budgeting for a signature event. We're sort of developing a pattern where every year we have one big event for the community. Last year was Las Virgenes. Before that was a community leaders briefing with Chair Ortega and Assemblymember Bennett. This year will be the dedication ceremony for the Steve Boyce emergency generator. So thought we should get that into the budget as it's becoming sort of a regular occurrence. So I think that might be it for my slides. Oh, here we go. We host the regional legislative group. That hasn't changed quarterly. I mentioned the state legislative committee, and then ad hoc trips to Sacramento as needed as well, and printing of the year in review. So that accounts for the increases, what I mentioned earlier. Any questions?
So printing and geographic, you have contractors do the work for you? Who does the work?
We did it all, I would say 85% in-house design this year. Printing, of course, we do outside of Calleguas, but the first year we mostly contracted out for the design, but we realized we're able to do quite a bit of it in-house.
Good work.
Yeah.
Next is finance.
Marketing and voice arrest. And we don't have a whole lot to go over. We increased our not our aqua budget, but our training budget because we saw an opportunity for Kristen Morgan to take the JPIA Leadership Essentials class. And so that added about $3,400 to our budget. We still budgeted for CSMFO, which is California Society of Municipal Financial Officers, New World Conference, and the CMTA, which is the California Municipal Treasurers Association. That's a mouthful.
New World is our finance system, not a planet that we're going to move to.
You speak.
Good. So as part of our debt service study, we've also been looking at reserve policies, and then we need to also check into a debt policy for next year. We'll have our financial advisors look over that with us. So that was a little bump in our consultant. And that's it for me.
Good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, budget highlights in the Human Resources and Risk Management Department are going to be focused on supporting employee safety, operational compliance, and training and development. As Matt highlighted earlier with the promotion introductions, there has been a lot of upward movement in the O&M department, and this has resulted in 4 open positions in the system maintenance department. And I put my eyes on one of them. So I've had several conversations with Omar about increased regulatory requirements and employee safety. So with his full support, we are proposing the reclassification of one of those system maintenance openings to a safety specialist position. And that will focus on occupational and field safety. While the position will report to Human Resources and Risk Management, the safety specialist would be dedicated to employee and field safety, still providing a direct benefit to the O&M staff who are doing the field work on a day-to-day basis. So just a little background, currently the district operates with 1 environmental health and safety specialist whose responsibilities encompass all regulatory compliance for hazardous materials storage and use, and also all safety-related requirements for employee safety, like electrical safety, fall protection, confined space, respiratory protection. I could go on, there are more. And since the environmental health and safety specialist was hired 9 years ago, the district has added several new facilities, and that includes like grants and pump station, which has.
We hire ghosts.
Work team.
Yes, with the travel. They're just backup diesel generators, the Las Virgenes interconnect, and the project development just continues. So we have more projects coming, more backup generators. We have the solar at the well field, and these are all adding to the regulatory requirements and oversight for our one single environmental health and safety specialist. In addition to the increase in those facilities and the complexity of these requirements, Cal OSHA and EPA are busy writing and expanding regulatory requirements. Since 2018, we've gone from 6 regulatory permits and regulatory plans to 17. So more than double, a lot of oversight there. So all of that information is really provided to highlight that a dedicated safety specialist position would just provide more consistent safety support and field presence for the O&M staff. And that's why we're recommending this reclassification of one existing position vacancy.
A good idea.
So that's my main highlight for today, but I do have a few others on the list. We are seeing an increase to the training budget. Staff development continues to be an important investment for the district, particularly as those regulations increase, as well as technology and succession planning continue to evolve. You'll also see increased funding for safety equipment for fall protection. We want to get some fall protection around our reservoir, the top of our reservoirs where those patches are. We're able to inspect now remotely, but we need to get up there and get in there, and they haven't all been designed with fall protection built in. And then lastly, the budget reflects anticipated increases in insurance costs. It's just standard across the industry, steady increase in the premiums for liability, property, and workers' compensation. Questions?
So this insurance increase is not the CalPERS increase. You're talking about other insurances.
Correct. Benefits are falling into your budget.
Part of the benefits that are increasing.
Oh, okay.
All of it. I left that out.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
And engineering.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors. So for the engineering budget, it remains similar to last year's. We do have training budgeted for our senior project managers. Specifically, we are anticipating Aqua GPIA Leadership Essentials for the water industry to be attended by one of our senior project managers later this year. We also regularly attend the American Public Works Association conference, and also several of the project managers will have trenchless construction as part of their projects, specifically the Ventura interconnection and SMP Phase 3. So we budgeted for those project managers to attend the North American Society for Trenchless Technology conference. We're also budgeting to replace the carpet in this room as well as conference room A. We're also planning to continue condition assessment of our infrastructure, including our welded steel pipe, bar wrap pipe, and also looking at our existing 4 above ground steel tanks. The last tank that was rehabbed was just over 10 years ago. So it's about that time we take a close look and see what condition it's in and determine if any rehab is necessary.
That's the question you know I'm going to ask.
Yes.
Can you tell me more about our carpet and why it needs replacing? It looks amazing. Looks great.
Well, you
We're
work
not
in-
saying something.
You work in a government building, so this looks great by comparison.
It is 30-year-old carpet now.
What cleaners do we have?
We've taken really good care of it,
Put an O&M in.
but
We have a
it's,
good cleaning crew who keeps up on it.
there are
Very good.
places that don't now.
No.
Kara has done a lot along with the cleaning crew to extend its life, but it's time.
Still some rabbit.
I'm just curious about why is engineering doing carpet replacement?
We did such a great job with the other task. The other department said engineering can execute that, so.
So to be honest, like we are actually using this as a training and development opportunity for for Megan Nilsson, who I believe tonight is graduating. She's actually managing the project.
Okay.
So we're not using a PE to manage the carpet.
And we're also using the CMAS contract as well, which we used previously for the cubicle reconfiguration, which engineering undertook. So we have experience using the CMAS contract as well. Yeah, and that's what engineering is. Thank you.
Hey. Water resources. So I will note that our budget decreased this year, budget request about $100,000. That's mainly because we did the urban water management plan this current fiscal year, and that's completely done as far as our expenditures to the consultant. So by the time this new fiscal year starts, we won't have any of that. There was also a couple of miscellaneous things that carried over from previous fiscal years that didn't, that no longer affect us. So that is why we did decrease. But what we are looking at funding, some highlights here, is to continue to fund our public outreach and promotion. So this is a lot of our materials that we have for our event booths and our outreach for the workforce development efforts that Jen does. And we also do newspaper ads for our drip irrigation and other classes that we offer. And they're surprisingly pricey. So, but they definitely get the word out to the community. And every time we run an ad, we see a spike in people attending. We have a large looking line item for the member agency administered program, but that equivalent amount is also in the revenue side. So it all evens out. It just looks like expense on our side because those are expenses that Metropolitan reimburses to us. We are continuing with some finishing touches to the Lake Bar dedication site renovation, like an additional pergola and some more plants, especially after we get through the summer and see kind of how the plants have made it. We're going to have to do some refresh. And then another round of the Calleguas Water Career video series. So we're aiming to do another 4 staff members so that we'll have a total of 8 videos. And that is water resources.
Thank you. Next, information technology.
All right, so we got the information technology budget this year. New line item on our budget this year is the investment that we're doing with AI. As I had previously told the board, right, we have a new policy and we are working to get our enterprise level licensing for that to be able to further help staff with augmentation efforts while utilizing that AI and making sure that we're protected and enabling them. My training budget stayed about the same this year. I'm a big firm believer in the if you rest, you rust, and I'm making sure that my staff have the opportunity to get as many training sessions as possible in during the year. Benefit this year with the training budget is I was able to get our SCADA vendor to get our training unlimited training sessions for a similar cost to only attending 1 or 2 of them. And that's been beneficial. We've gotten 3 of our staff have attended at least 1. And I think our one of them is actually on our 3rd class already. So we're taking advantage of those training opportunities for sure. You're also going to see increases in GIS again this year. We are working with Aspen right now to do a overview of our GIS system with expectations that there's going to be a lot of changes that we need to make to get everything squared up on that. At the same time, or as soon as we're done with Aspen, we're going to be working directly with Esri to do a free evaluation that they provide as well with all of the managers to figure out what opportunities we want to take advantage of. And all of that is going to end up increasing licensing fees and increasing some consulting costs on those to get us into that GIS being the system of record. And then the last thing you see is the signal channels still remain up there a little bit. I think there's a little bit of an increase this year. Signal channels for us is all of our communications. So it's all of our internet for all of our remote facilities, internet for here. We are getting a secondary installation for internet installed as part of the data center relocation project that's going on right now. So we'll be having an increase there because we'll have additional costs. And during the SCADA sites, when we had gotten through doing all of our upgrades out there, we had found about 4 sites or 5 sites that couldn't get internet access from another provider other than the cellular that we're using on them right now. And so we're Starlink at those sites. That's all I have unless you have any questions.
And are you guys still working on like boardroom improvements?
That is still a plan to move forward on that. We had started into that this year, and it's meeting the needs of a capital construction project, which changed the way I had intended on doing RFP process. And I'm working with legal counsel to get that squared away and hope to have that done this next fiscal year.
So that's not in your, is that in your?
Yes, it is. I didn't have it on PowerPoint, but it is in the budget.
Thank you.
Yeah, remodel. I'm not aware.
The boardroom AV revamp is something we've been trying to do. So as you can tell, we have microphones sitting in front of everybody that picks up everybody in the room at the same time. So we're planning on doing
to improve
the audio video. Yeah.
So I would say the two biggest changes we're planning on are to push to talk phones so that these don't just pick up every sound. Of course, it means you all have to remember to push to talk. And to have video, because as I really experienced last time when I had to be remote for the board meeting, the person at the podium is a disembodied voice. You don't have any visual on them. And it'll be nice to be able to see who's speaking.
Yeah, and so along with that, what I really like, for example, at the supervisor's boardroom is, you know, we don't all have laptops in front of us. There's a little small monitor in front of you where you can see the presentation, you can, you know, turn on your mic, turn off your mic, things like that would be very helpful. So
That's a much bigger undertaking than is being proposed here because this is, you know, we use this space for a lot of different purposes.
yeah,
It isn't a dedicated space where we could have a permanent fixed dais. That would require
potentially a very fixed.
much more of a capital project.
Okay.
So this would be incremental improvement. I mean, I would love to be able to do something like that, but we would need to build a new room.
I was thinking about it, should we consider it sometime in the future to build a new?
I think it's absolutely something we can consider.
If you look at many of the boardrooms, whether it's the county board of supervisors, Las Virgenes, any boardrooms you see, typically they are set up differently, the technology is different.
Yeah, I mean, this building was built in 1996.
Right.
So a few things have changed since then.
Maybe that's something
I think it's something we should be considering down the line.
We do have, you know, the new building we're making, and that's gonna have a open space like this as well, right?
Yes, but the challenge with that is then it's behind our gates, so it's not as easily accessible for public.
Oh, well, I mean, well, we would use this for dedicated boardroom and you could use that for your training and your.
But we still have a lot of meetings where we have people coming from outside, so I think it's absolutely something to consider long-term, probably something as we do the strategic planning effort this fall.
That's a good idea.
Because depending on what direction the board goes in terms of building desalters or not, investing in other projects or not, you know, that's gonna have an impact on staff, and at some point we'll outgrow this building and we'll have to revamp or expand our space to make it workable. But for now, we'll do some push to talk microphones and some better video.
Yeah.
Does Starlink introduce anything that you have to be careful with?
No, because we're still doing all of our VPN network inside of it. So it's just a method of getting internet access is all it is at that point. From a cybersecurity standpoint, we treat it the same as any other internet access that we have at any other location that we have.
I use Starlink is very secure. That's as far as I'm going to it.
I'd rather hear from him.
I'm using it at my house right now, so I can tell you that much too. So, but no, yeah, there's no difference from any other place, any other internet access that we're doing right now. Thank you.
O&M.
And I think there's a few other water districts that use Starlink. But yeah, I think United.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. I wish I had one slide, but I don't. So going over some of our budget impacts and decreases, we do have employees in new positions, employees who've been reclassed. As we move people up, we bring people in at the entry level and they're required to have certification. And then we need to focus on safety training, traffic control and things like that. So that's in our budget. Also, the Aqua JPIA, we would also like to send our assistant O&M manager, Matt Gomez, to that. We are limited on how many people Aqua will allow, so hopefully we can bump somebody out of there and Matt can go.
Seriousness, I do want to state that this has been a fantastic program, a really great service that Aqua JPA provides to us as members. A very significant percentage of the management team has been through this program. It is invaluable and it serves as the basis for the year-long, it uses a lot of the same principles as the year-long team building and leadership workshops we're doing here. So we're going to send as many people as our budget allows and Aqua JPA allows us to include.
And as you know, we have our painting and coatings task force. That's going to continue to advance. So we will be buying more paint coating materials, but that's also, grinders and things like that, needle guns, as you well know. Okay, so one of the bigger costs that we have now, if you look at our budget without this in there, it's relatively flat. But as we presented on the pipe diver is the $1.1 million, and that was to inspect 10 miles of pipeline. And which will help us catch up.
Like 10 million millimeters.
Yeah, it'll help us catch up on our PCCP inspections. And then the Tierra Hada feeder, which will come up in later years that hasn't been inspected. On our fuel expenses, we have two different areas in there that we have the fuel demand. One is for routine operations, which is for our vehicles and equipment and so forth. And then the second side of that is being prepared for the emergency PSPS events, as we see that seems to continue to increase. And then we have those long outages. So two components in there, one for operations and one is that insurance, if you will, being able to buy diesel and fuel during that time.
Is that also for like the generators?
Yes, yeah.
How often do you guys cycle through that fuel? Do you guys do any stabilization on it?
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah, so a good example of that is our Granson pump station. It has a buffer. So basically it's a filter. So it recirculates it through there, reconditions it, separates the water. So ideally, that's what we want to have at every facility to make sure that we're able to exercise that fuel. And in some cases, you can put stabilizer in there as well. Vehicle and equipment maintenance, we expect that to go down. Over the last 2 years, we've replaced some of our old fleet. So we're seeing that some of that maintenance cost is going down with the newer vehicles. As well as the vehicle purchase, because we were aggressive in the last 2 years of getting rid of some of the older vehicles. We only plan on purchasing one vehicle this next fiscal year, and that would be for the reclass position for the safety technician. System maintenance supplies, coatings. We're going to try to do as much as we can in-house. We expect those things to go up. On the outside services, we know that we've increased our landscape cost, so staff can do more of the maintenance. And then as we start doing that maintenance, we start exercising those valves, we start realizing that some of the controllers, actuators, they break. And due to the age or the manufacturer no longer being in service, sometimes we have to have these plates, transition plates made to go from one manufacturer to another because you can't really go and take that valve out of service. So that's what that line item is for. On our wells and turnouts, also, we have instrumentation, we have switch gear and things like that that we need to be replacing on a regular basis. So we're really attacking the routine maintenance, and that's going to help us ensure that our purveyors are not without water. We're being measured correctly and capture any changes in their flow, but and no interruptions. And then our standby generator maintenance. There is a section in there that we do utilize an outside contractor for, but we're going to start shifting into some of the routine repairs and start doing those in-house instead of being so dependent on an outside service. So that's going to require more in material, but it's going to save us in that outside labor that's associated with the repairs, not with the routine testing and certifying of the generators. And then for the switch gear, we do have a lot of these micro switches, hundreds and hundreds of them. They're not expensive. However, they do need to be replaced. So that's another part of control systems. So starting to go through and look at all these, realizing that they're out of date. And when they do fail, even though it might be a 99-cent switch, that 99-cent switch could cost you $50,000 in damage or more on a pump. So that's the idea, is to make sure that we keep up on those. And they also deal with actuators and valves, but on their side, it's more on the instrumentation side. So it's the programming of it and any of the logic that has to be done in there. And those are torque and limit switches as well.
Omar,
Yes.
on coating of reservoirs, how often does Calleguas coat their reservoirs, above ground reservoirs, steel reservoirs?
How often do we coat the reservoirs?
How often do we coat?
Yeah, yes, that's a good question. As I mentioned during the engineering budget discussion, we are going to be doing condition assessment to better understand the coating systems that we've been using on our tanks. As you probably know, the VOC limitations have changed over time, and the coating systems that used to be installed before gave us 15, 18 years lifespan. Now getting 10, 12 years, depending on its locations and exposure, re near the coast. So the study will tell us more about.
Okay, you're going to study, then based on that, to come up with the schedule.
And then determine.
We have 4 above ground steel tanks. Lake Sherwood, Grimes Canyon at the Wellfield, Newbury Park tank, and then the SMP control tank.
Camarillo, what's the one? There's one Camarillo, don't you have one?
The SMP control tank on Lewis.
Yeah, but everything else is below ground concrete.
Oh, okay.
So that.
What's our experience with the below ground concrete tanks? Were there any leaks?
The last significant improvements came from was that the Northridge earthquake, which.
Yeah, after the 1994 Northridge earthquake, we evaluated all of our tanks, steel, above ground steel and below ground concrete. Almost all of them were either replaced or significantly rehabilitated.
Okay.
On the concrete tanks overall, they've held up pretty well. Springville did have a leak at one point, but we fixed it, and that was a long time ago. It was before we did the seismic rehab. But the older tanks, Sherwood, which was built in 1989, the paint on that has held up better than the paint on Newbury Park tank, which was built in like 2004 or 6.
Yeah.
And I think that's it reflects how VOCs can be helpful for paint longevity.
Okay. Another question for Omar. You talk about maintenance supplies. So do we have a supply room where you?
We do. We do. We do have a warehouse.
We have warehouse.
Yes.
I had a question with regards to the increasing cost of running treatment facilities in well field during a PSPS
events.
The cost of fuel continuously going up and all that. And I'm sure you won't have an answer, but I'm curious about the increasing cost, like per day of running our operations with generators versus electricity. It'd be interesting to quantify kind of the impact of these events as they happen to our budgets.
Yeah, and we can look at that based off of the last PSPS events, and we can look at power costs versus our fuel costs during that time.
It'd be interesting to look at that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Especially interesting in how
How long of it what?
how long of a notice you get.
We don't really get a very,
You don't.
it's pretty quick. They usually tell us, hey, by the way, you guys are probably going to go down in the next 6 hours or so, and then by then we've already lost power.
Yeah.
So,
Between now and tomorrow.
yes. On regulatory compliance, we do have our cross connection program. That's because of the new regulatory requirements. We have our own cross connection technician. This will be to get replacement for some of our devices, but also as they find other areas that need to have different types of cross connection protection, whether it's hose bib aerators and things like that. That'll be an increase in some material. And then the outside service for the cross connection, we only have one person doing it for right now, but we still have to do the condition or hazard assessment at each and every facility that we have. So that's to help us work through that and get the reporting so we know what work needs to be done, and then we can put that on schedule. The Lake Bard security camera replacement and upgrades, that's going to be ongoing to replace some of the older antiquated cameras and then the infrared sensors. So that will continue to go. And then we have the Lake Board Management Plan, which we want to do is have a silt index, and then a biological survey, and then try to have an expert help us with the reed management as it continues to grow in the perimeter of the lake. Yes, people think it decreases volume, but it does decrease the amount of organics in there. So we want to get that.
So Omar, on security camera replacement, you say it's ongoing. Is there a schedule that you'll be completing all these replacements?
There is a schedule.
Okay, when is it completed?
So Wes is working on part of that. It's working with the vendors, trying to figure out on the technology. As this program has been going, technology has changed. So I would be comfortable, Wes, saying how long we think it's going to.
What we have budgeted for in this next year is to go ahead and finish replacing all of the cameras here at Lake Bard. So the Lake Bard cameras are somewhere on the order of, what do we say? I think they were 12, 13 years old now. They're all obsolete. They're not longer supported, and they're all starting to fail. So we've been working through that process already. We had done a group of cameras the other day. We're working on getting quotes based off of technology enhancements for another group here very shortly, but we did budgeted for this next year to
expect to be completed next fiscal.
This next fiscal year, we expect to finish replacing all of the ones here locally at the lake.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and then we'll move on to the well field. We are still working, as we mentioned before, with our consultant Curtis Hopkins on the well performance analysis, trying to look at our ASR, look at the design. So that will
When will that be completed? When will that performance evaluation completed? This year or next year?
It'll be probably, I would say next fiscal year, we will have
All 18 wells?
on all 18 that are currently in operation, right? So anything that's already been taken out, so we do have some wells that are already out of service. And we already have that information. We just want to finish the report on the operating wells, and then the condition assessment on those. And then we'll come up with a capital plan based off that information. So I would say within the next 5 to 6 months, I feel comfortable saying that we're going to come back to the board with a report on how we're going to move forward with our ASR maintenance program. And then the SMP, as Amy presented, we're expecting, and we know that we're going to have a reduced requirement for some of our sampling for the toxicity, but also we're going to have a reduced cost in sampling because we are not going to have to do our PFAS sampling as frequent. So we've already managed that. And then the diver survey, as we presented at the last board meeting with the new technology, we are able to put the pivot in there. So we're not going to be paying for divers to come in and or take the tank out of service and do that. So those are some cost savings for us. Any questions? Love it.
Thank you. Thank you, Omar.
All right, now that I had my break, get back to speaking again. Just to kind of, in the budget, you'll see there's one page that kind of just breaks down. I mean, we do the quarterly capital project report, which gives you always updates. So this is just kind of a snapshot of where we're at, and this is through April of 2026. So we currently have budgeted $173 million worth of projects with the engineering. And we've spent about $72.5 million of that. So we've got a little over $100 million left to spend on the projects that have already been approved by the board. This is going to be going over multiple years. This is not going to happen in 1 year. But there's plenty of projects out there, and there's plenty of more projects coming. Something that you'll see in that page, and this is why we're kind of talking about it, there's a little bit of new funding out there. Every year we request the $1.5 million for our unplanned repairs that we have to do. It kind of gives us a head start on some projects, nothing that's going to be really big, but if it's something that needs to be done quickly, it gives us an opportunity to get those repairs before we get to the board. We also have unplanned pump repairs as a project because every year there seems to be some pump. Fortunately, there has not been one this year. We haven't had to spend any of the $300,000, but that's typically not the case. The wells out at the well field will all of a sudden go out. The hydros will go out. Something goes out. And this gives us the money to make those repairs. These items are big enough that it's a capital item. So we record it that way as a fixed asset. So that's why we actually budget as a capital project. And then finally, we have one other project that's in there, and that's to replace the treatment plant's backwash pump and motor for $175,000. It's the second one that we're going to be replacing. So we've already replaced one of them. This is the second one. Then they'll both be up and running and ready to go. So they're still analyzing the pump itself to make sure it needs to be replaced, but we're anticipating that it's going to. So we're going to set up the capital project at this time to get that budgeted. So with that, to show you where our current budget is, we're budgeting for a debt service coverage of 2.73. That's very strong debt service coverage. You can see that it's continuing to increase. But just less than 5 years ago, we were at 1.44. That was during the drought, which was a low time in water sales, low revenues. That really came close to not making that 1.25 minimum for our bond covenant. But now we're very healthy. We recovered from that, and we continue to have a good debt service coverage. To kind of go into now the long-range finance plan. I'm going to go over some of the assumptions that are in there. So Metropolitan did give me their 10-year. I'm just kind of showing you kind of where the averages are. You know, we've got a 4.6 in 2027. That's their overall rate increases. These are not just the tier one. 6.1 in 28, and then 29 to 31, we're at between 6.3 and 7.1% on their overall increases. So they're still pretty hefty increases. For us, for our rates, and this is combined both the operations and capital, we're looking at a 6% increase this year. And then 27 to 31, we're looking at between 4 and 5%. So ours are pretty standard from what we've seen over the last several years, and it's continuing to go on. It's pretty flat. We try to keep it as even as possible. We don't look for any large increases if we can avoid it. We do include a COLA for salaries of about 3%. In this current budget, I did budget 3.4 coming for this next year. If you look at what's happening on the index, this last month with 3.7, but it was kind of an outlier. Typically, it's been the 3.3 to 3.4%, and I think it's going to get back to that by the time we get to November. So I think we're good.
On the MWD rate increases, it shows 4.6, 6.1, 6.3, 7.1. Are these the final numbers? I remember 6.2 every year.
So yes. So when you look at these, it's complicated with what Met does. So when they did like these rates, the rate increases that they show were like I can't remember what they were now, 6% for both years. That's not what we end up having to pay. We ended up at a 4.6 by the time we got done. The treated water went down. Some of the fixed charges didn't. They went up quite a bit. So when they say that, that's their average rates.
Okay, these are the rates that are applicable to Calleguas from Metropolitan.
Yes. So I go in and I ask them for their details.
Okay.
I calculate them on how I think they're going to be, not how I think, how it calculates based on what we're going for as far as water sales and how they're calculated on our behalf.
And we saw an iteration of that reveal, right?
Yes.
You posted this before.
I posted some of this before when I go over the water rates and I'm looking at whenever I do the 5 years and 10 years, and I've got some 5-year slides in here of our tier one rates and the all-in rates. And that's me taking what Metropolitan gives me, putting in where I think our numbers are going to be when they're calculating like that 6.7% that I'm saying for the OTS. I kind of assume that's kind of going across the board at 7%. What's our CFS that we're going to be charged on? So I kind of generate all of that to calculate our exact costs in this projection.
Okay, thank you.
I'm continuing to include increases in both the medical costs and pension. I'm hoping that pension starts leveling out, but PERS has these up and down years. So they could be looking good one year and next thing you know, their rates are going back up because they had a bad investment year. We do include, when you're looking at some of this, increases in staffing still. There's increases in there because we're doing a lot of projects on the risk side, which is something that's going to add additional facilities, which will then take additional possibly project managers. So we kind of built some additional staffing in there as we're going out into the out years. I mean, this is over a 10. So I don't expect us to stay at 84 or 81 employees forever. That's not really a reasonable thing to assume. So I do put in some increases in staffing. And then operating costs, I increased by 2%. I think utilities are a little bit higher at like 3.2%. Just to make sure that because utilities have been going up higher than the rest of all of our costs. So with all that taking in, this is kind of what we're looking at as far as the tier rates go over the next 5 years. This does assume that the cost of service study is adopted because we are playing with fixed charges versus variable. So these variable rates are looking kind of low in some spots, like the 2.3 next year. And we're looking at 4s and 5s and even a 3.4 by the time you get 5 years out. And a lot of that has to do with the decreasing of the Calleguas variable rate, because I've put that $140 per acre foot on there to cover those fixed charges, that treatment charge, and it slowly drops off over the next 5 years. So this is what the tier 1 rates are, but I also did something with the all-in rate, which kind of encompasses everything, so we can kind of get a good look at what we're going to be charging to the purveyors. And you can see that here's the 5% for 27. We're looking at a 5.8% for 28. And then we do have some 6s, and that really has to do with the cost that Metropolitan's throwing out there, a 6.6 and then a 6.4 based on my calculations. So there's a couple of higher increases, but it's not as high as it used to be. But again, these aren't adopted rates either. Keep that in mind. These are what the projections are for Metropolitan, and Metropolitan's projections seem to change on an annual basis, depending on what comes through with through their board.
What's that bottom number underneath, like the first column?
Yeah, I guess I should. I mean, some reason my labels aren't on there. That is my estimated water sales. So I am keeping it pretty flat across the board. I'm not assuming that we're going to be doing a large increase in water sales. Conservation is a way of life for the state of California. So I'm not anticipating having a large increase like we've had in the past from year to year. And it's played out over the last few years where we've been pretty steady at the 75 to 73,000 acre feet in water sales. Now I'm going to get to one of my slides that I like because there's a lot of numbers on it. But I'm going to kind of go through each of the different funds that we have. First, we're going to sort of talk about the operating fund to kind of show you where we're at. I'm going to show you first that we are projecting to have a $2.8 million operating revenue for 2027. And that is really due to one fact, and that has to do with the prepaid water. So because we did that prepaid water, we are actually saving money on our expenses because we purchased it before at a cheaper rate than we have to pay right now. So that's giving us some extra income in this year. We are using some of that money to fund the pipe diver. So we are really getting, I think, about $3.4 million in savings, and we're using some of it to fund some of our operations.
So why did we have to use it at one time? Could you have spread it out over the years to?
We could not. Metropolitan.
I see.
Metropolitan made us take it. Dan would have loved to wait a few more years.
Yeah.
You know, but the way the agreements were structured, they had full discretion of.
When you bought it, you had to buy it back at a time. And
yeah, we bought it, and they, in the agreement for us to allow us to buy it, they said they could call us on it at any time. We're actually fortunate that it took them this long to call us on it. So we actually got $3.4 million in savings buying the water. It's just quite a significant amount. Yeah. The other thing I want to point out is that by the end of the 5 years, we're looking pretty good, and based on the projections that we're going to have $12.8 million in unreserved balances for future droughts so that we can help smooth rates if anything happens like we've had to do in the past. This is the plan right now, is trying to build those reserves back up, not trying to do it all at once. We're doing it over the 5 years, 10 years, but it starts leveling out after the 5-year mark. I think it gets up to about $15 million by the end of the 10 years. So trying to keep it smooth without doing too many jumps too fast. Next, we're going to take a look at the construction. There's several things here that I'm going to point out. First thing is that based on what Fernando's been telling the board, we're going to be spending a lot of money on capital projects in the next 3 years. That's $130 million in projects right there that I just circled. There is $100 million, I even told you, on the capital projects right now that are budgeted that haven't been spent. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities that we can actually do this. So it's a lot of money, and that's what brings us to the next little bit. So that top line, those three numbers, is us using that $20 million that we loan. We haven't pulled that much down yet, but there's some projects, because I came to the board adding additional projects. We should be able to get to the 12.8 next year, if not more, possibly, depending on how fast construction goes. So I'm going to be planning to use all that loan money and then looking to borrow money in another year or two, because $130 million would drain us of a lot of cash in a short period of time, which is why I also got to be careful on the interest revenue, budgeting it, because if we start spending some of this cash down, we're not going to be earning interest. So I show $80 million in new funds, but really that's going to be a $100 million bond issue, because we're going to borrow $80 million in new money and pay off the $20 million in loan that we have. So that those two numbers come up to $100 million.
So that's projected 2028.
Yeah, it's going to be sometime in the next, we're going to have to make a decision in March of 27, because that loan actually expires, and either we're going to have to renew the loan and go for a little longer, depending on how fast the spending's going, or we'll start working on a new bond issue at that time and have it ready. Or we can do a combination, like renew the loan, keep it going, and then do the bond issue a little bit later than that. The SMP, I'm not really going to talk about. Really, the good thing is, if you look at the cash available for future expenditures, the cash is not going to be negative for that much longer, especially once Las Virgenes starts discharging. And Triumpho, that will add additional revenues into this SMP, and that will finally get us into the positive. I will say that overall, for the next 5 years, especially with that bond issue and the $130 million in spending, we would be very healthy cash-wise. We're still going to be close to $200 million by the end of the 5 years, which gives us plenty of opportunity for Fernando to keep spending as much money as he can. Makes him happy.
His goal is not to spend money, it's to build projects, and money is a tool for that.
In order to build
Save money.
We definitely need the money. And again, you can see that even with this new bond issue, it will dip our debt service coverage a little bit when we do it, but $100 million is a very large bond issue for us. And that'll drip us down to below 2, but eventually it comes right back up because of the way we're building up the rates so that it can handle something like this. With that, the next steps is really that we're going to adopt the budget at the next meeting. It's going to be it should be on consent calendar, because we've done all the details here. Of course, it always can be pulled for additional questions if that's the board's desire. So unless there's any additional questions, that is all I have.
I have some questions.
I'm ready.
Mr. Pacala.
Ready?
There you know. He's ready.
So under operating expenses, when I looked at the overall budgets, our pumping costs are going up by 14.28%, $300,000 increase.
Yes.
All costs, but pumping costs.
Pumping costs.
$300,000.
Yes.
For 8%. My question is this related to Southern California Edison proposed rate increase, or why is it 14.6%?
Well, I'm basing it partly on what we've been spending this year. And without getting into that full analysis, not quite getting it done for the budgets, I thought it was prudent to increase it, because obviously they're saying we missed something. And I think that they're saying we've been undercharged. And if that's actually the case, then we got to plan next year that our costs are going to be higher than what they've been historically. So right now we're probably on pace for $2.8 million in spending on pumping power costs. But I didn't want to go that high because I feel like it's not a reasonable number. I think that they're capturing back, and it's going back 2 years, capturing increases. Like I said, they've done all these ins and outs, and I'm still working on the analysis. But I do think that that the pumping costs are going to be increasing next year.
Okay, so this is best estimate based on.
It's best estimate based on what I'm seeing historically. And
So that brings me up to my previous questions I asked. Are we reviewing the TOU rates for all of the pumps, all of the?
We're gonna do that after Dan finishes this analysis with respect, get that, because we need to get that all straightened out. It's just gonna be too confusing.
Okay.
It's on the list of board requests today.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got a question. I see a few places where there's building maintenance items, but also in the capital improvement projects, there's the housing, it's 20,000, or I think it's 20,000.
Well, yeah, right now, there's only $20,000 budgeted. That's more so for the design of the buildings.
So on that Lake Park housing, that's all we have allocated?
So far for the Lake Bart housing, yes, because they're gonna come back to the board once they get the final design done and they know the actual cost, so that they can approve the budget, yes. And the building maintenance items that you're seeing in there is not just the housing units. It's also building maintenance for the buildings that we have here, yes. All the buildings that are out behind the gate.
Very good, thank you.
Director McCullough.
The other item I looked at, consultant and technical services increases, they're increasing by 74.4%, $1.14 million. Now, after I heard to all the managers' detailed explanation, if you add up everything they talked about, that's what this number would be.
Pretty close. I mean, we don't cover everything that's in the consulting budget, but you know that big chunk is the pipe diver. That's $1.1 million that wasn't in the budget last year.
The other question, I was looking at cost increases, travel and training costs increased by 24.1%, 82,830. I guess this all goes back to the details.
It does come back to the details. I mean, there's a lot that human resources, risk management's been doing. That was what she was reporting on, some of those increases that we're doing for staff trainings, the team building workshops. And all of that, that was the biggest increase there, but yes, all of them, the board included, for the additional conferences that they're going to.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chris. Any other questions?
I'm good.
Great presentation, thank you.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, staff, all of you for your presentations. Thank you very much. All right. Up next, we have a general counsel report.
General counsel report always follows some massive presentation. Nothing.
All right, we haven't had any committee
have
meetings. Up next, we have director's list of admin code reimbursable meetings. Go with Director McMillan.
I only have two this time. I attended the Ventura County Special Districts Association bi-monthly meeting. And they had a presentation given by the Ventura County Fire Department. It was very good, but what was very surprising, and then they do say they're so good, and so nimble, that they have a very high degree of retention, that the employees just don't tend to leave. But for a fire department, what shocked me, and these are 2022 numbers, they worked on 1,482 fires. But the majority of their work was emergency medical calls at 39,624. And there's some other things they do, like hazmat calls, rescue calls, and what have you. But it was just very surprising that the fire department is more like an emergency medical provider than putting out fires. So that was very surprising. And Charlotte was there too. She got to us. It's great presentations. Oh, and then tonight's board meeting.
All right. Director Robert.
I attended the Oxnard City Council meeting and viewed some of the Port Hueneme City Council meeting. They were on the same day, and tonight's board meeting.
Director Quady.
Since the last meeting, just a meeting with the general manager, June 1st, and then tonight's board meeting.
All right, Director McCullough.
Since last May 27th board meeting, I attended GMA TAC meeting remotely yesterday and today's board meeting.
Okay, thank you. And for myself, since the last board meeting, I had a meeting with Kylie from Aqua. I can't remember. I don't have it written down. If it was the day before the board meeting or the day after. And tonight's board meeting. All right. Thank you, everybody. Do we have discussion regarding upcoming meetings to be attended by board members?
I apologize for the upcoming meetings being left out of the board packet. The one in the last board packet didn't change very much since and then you should all have a hard copy at your spot today.
Do we have a request for?
Oh, before we move on from this item, the Blois dedication event on Friday, June 19th. Was hoping to get confirmation on which board members were able to attend that. I believe directors McMillan and Quady have RSVP'd. I wanted to find out from the other three directors if you knew whether you'd be able to attend.
Yes, I plan to attend.
Okay.
I plan to attend.
I will follow suit and also.
All right. Looks like we'll have 5 board members at a ceremonial event.
Yeah.
Thank you. We will plan accordingly in terms of speakers. It's coming together amazingly. It's going to be an incredible event.
Upcoming,
Oh, yeah.
so on upcoming meetings.
Yeah.
I have Aqua board workshop tomorrow and board meeting on Friday.
Same for me. All right. Anything else?
I don't have any updates.
We have a request for future agenda items.
The 2 items that I took away from today's meeting were to bring an action item on the committee organization and assignments, which, as I said, I'll target July 1st for that, as well as a meeting to be determined. Again, an update on where the TMDL effort in the Calleguas Creek watershed stands. That's going to take a little bit longer to plan and schedule.
Board comments? Information items. We have a floor alert for AB 2739, California Water Affordability and Stabilization Act. That's an informational item.
Yes, it is.
All right, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
The fire department.